Good day to all. Welcome to Extreme Recap. Today, I'm going to tell the story of Good Will Hunting, a self-taught genius with a troubled past who has to face his own emotional demons and figure out what life is all about. So unwind, subscribe to the channel, and enable subtitles while you relax. Good Will Hunting is seen reading a book at home at the beginning of the movie. His closest companion. He is picked up by Chucky Sullivan, who comes to his house. He will join us. They board the car and drive to MIT. Gerald, a professor, assigns a theorem to his students that must be solved by the end of the semester. He promises that whoever solves it will have their work published in the university newspaper. Will cleans the floor silently and is the MIT janitor. The to-be-solved theorem is written on a board in the hallway. He marvels at the questions written on the board after the students leave. Will and Chuck go to a bar, where he is in good spirits. However, Will decides to leave early. Work on the theorem he saw that day at home. Will solves the theorem the following day while doing his cleaning chores. Will keeps throwing the ball at Chucky while berating him for interfering with their baseball game on the hallway board. Will concurs that Gerald will be attending a meeting with his MIT students when they arrive and inquire about the person who solved the theorem when Chucky suggests that they go to a Harvard bar the following week. He asks various students if they know who wrote the solution, which he finds surprising on the board. Chucky, on the other hand, doesn't appear to be aware of anyone in the following scene. Billy and Morgan are watching a baseball game, and one of the players will look like the bully from his childhood. Finally, they go outside to get food. They also notice that Will's bully is behaving badly once more while they are driving. He gets into a fight with the group, but the police show up and take him away. Gerald enters his office the following day to find an unusually large number of students present. Everyone wants to learn more about the person who proved the theorem. Will is working on a board problem when he asks the mysterious individual to reveal themselves. When Gerald discovers him and yells at him, "You can't write there," so swiftly departs. Will's genius is also evident when Gerald examines the board later. He goes with his friends to the Harvard bar as planned. Chuck, Morgan also makes fun of him for being let go from his job as a janitor. He tells lies to two Harvard students about taking one of them's history class. Chucky is insulted by a man by the name of Clark, who displays his knowledge of history. He mocks Chucky for not knowing much about the topic and then joins the conversation and tricks Clark. Clark is embarrassed and tries to retaliate with insults by claiming that he copied his historical insights because they are not original, but he manages the situation well. Clark also withdraws later. Chucky's conversation partner, Skylar, approaches. Gerald goes to the buildings and grounds office to look for Will, but the men there say he didn't show up for work that day. Will shows interest in him and gives him her phone number. They talk about the possibility of going out sometime. Since it came through him, they might try contacting his probation officer. That got him hired. Will is defending himself in court against charges of assaulting a police officer. Additionally, the judge mentions his poor past. He also mentions Will, who was removed from 3 foster homes due to severe physical harm after living in multiple foster homes. His charges have not been dropped, and his bail has been set at $500,000. From jail, he calls Skylar and asks if they can go out together. Additionally, Gerald is shown to him and offers to assist him. But there are 2 requirements. First, he agreed to put more effort into studying mathematics. Gerald seems to enjoy the mathematics work Gerald does after he seeks therapy, which he does without much thought. He visits various therapists and struggles to open up, taking no one seriously and even making fun of them. He doesn't take anyone's advice. Therefore, Gerald opts to have We will meet with his college roommate and therapist, Dr. Sean Maguire. Gerald will tell Chucky about his probation and counseling agreement when he meets Sean at his workplace. They talk about how they haven't seen each other since Sean's wife died. Sean is persuaded to treat Will by Gerald, who believes that Will is exceptionally intelligent and deserving of consideration. He mentions that they are both from South Boston as well. Will have a casual meeting with Sean and Axe. He is extremely arrogant when they talk about books and exercises. He begins to make fun of a painting in Sean's office, making assumptions and cruel remarks about Sean's wife, and he gets a serious response from Will, who reminds him of his limits after Will leaves. Sincerely, Gerald assures Sean that he comprehends Sean's decision not to see him again. However, Sean is prepared to try once more next week. Sean's thoughts keep him up at night and keep him awake. Will spends time with Skylar. She talks about her good upbringing and education, referring to her intention to pursue a medical degree at Stanford. They have fun and enjoy each other's company. As planned, the following day, they will meet with Sean, and Sean will take him to a lake. Will's remarks about the painting, according to Sean, have made him think a lot. He realized that Will was just a kid who didn't know what he was doing after staying up all night. He understands that won't has ever left Boston since, in such a case that Sean got some information about craftsmanship. He could elaborate on artistic literature extensively. However, they would have no idea how the Sistine Chapel smelled or how stunning the ceiling was in person. He could talk a lot about women when asked about them, but he would never know what it's like to be happy in someone else's presence. He also wouldn't know anything about war if asked about it. Because he hasn't been through those things, Will doesn't know true love or loss. Sean says that he doesn't see Will as a confident man but rather as a scared boy trying to act tough who will assume everything about Sean's life by looking at a painting as he speaks. His late wife died of cancer. Will, who is also an orphan and has gone through difficult times, is brought up by Sean. As a result, he inquires whether Will's life can be comprehended by only reading one book. He explains that Will can only be understood if he is open and willing to share his own experiences. Will, on the other hand, is too afraid to talk, he realizes. Sean pulls out and everything starts to sink for Will gradually. Skylar will receive a phone call that night from a payphone during heavy rain. She responds, but he continues. Science hangs up shortly after and later meets with Sean for therapy. Sean realizes that Will only speak if he really wants to, so he stays silent and leaves when the timer runs out. A polished and erudite man is impressed by Will's answers to math problems days later. Will finally starts talking to Sean during one of the sessions, and Gerald is impressed with his skill. He makes a joke, gushes about how well the meeting with Skylar went, and says that he doesn't mind not seeing her again. After that, Sean refers to Will as an amateur, but Will insists that he is an expert, arguing that Skylar is distinct from all of his previous partners. Will says he doesn't want to ruin the moment and instead wants to slowly get to know Skylar to avoid the relationship becoming monotonous and boring. Sean mocks his approach and suggests he call her, claiming that, as a result of his behavior, he will never truly meet anyone. They both laugh when he reveals little things about his late wife that only he knew about. These are insignificant, according to Sean, or really what matter. Additionally, individuals decide who can enter their worlds. Will is reminded by him that neither he nor Skylar are perfect, and that they must fully embrace their relationship to determine if they are compatible. Will inquire whether Sean has ever considered a second marriage. However, Sean demonstrates his devotion to his deceased wife by visiting Skylar, apologizing for his disappearance, and then taking Sean's own advice against him. He inquires if they can go out once more, to which Skylar responds that she is preoccupied with university work that requires her to assign the proton spectrum to ibogaine. Will, on the other hand, quickly departs and returns with the response to his work, stating that he could not wait to spend time with her later. They make the decision to go to a dog race together, where Skylar's dog competes and wins. She inquires about Will's experiences and siblings after learning that he grew up in South Boston. When he says that he has 12 older siblings, students who want to meet them will ask Sean if he regrets not getting to meet his. But Sean says that there are advantages and disadvantages to everything in life, so he denies it. Will inquires inquisitively as to when Sean realized that his wife was the ideal match for him. Sean's remarkable memory is demonstrated by his reference to a specific date. At a baseball game, they met. In addition, Sean divulges specifics about the match, stating that he was more concerned with getting to know his future wife than watching the entire event. Will makes fun of him for missing an important event, but Sean doesn't think about how much he missed spending time with his wife throughout their lives. Will and Skylar spend time together in the following scene, sharing intimate moments. She inquires as to when he will take her to see his house and meet his friends and siblings. Will says that he will take her to meet them. Then there's Chucky. Will and Skylar meet Billy and Morgan. They start telling each other funny stories, but Will still doesn't seem willing to tell Skylar about his personal life. Chucky energetically prods him, saying that assuming she saw his everyday environments, she would be stunned. Will succeeds in persuading him to hand over the keys to the car. Sean and Gerald meet to talk about it. Gerald thinks they require discuss Will's future because he has been offered a number of jobs that match his potential. The conversation becomes tense as a result of Sean's belief that Will is not yet ready, which results in a disagreement between them. Will needs to figure out what he really wants to do in life, according to Sean, despite Gerald's insistence that he should major in mathematics. Sean receives word from Gerald that he sent Will to a work meeting. However, at the meeting's time, Chucky is sent in his place by Will. The employees at the company are perplexed as a result of this because Will acts casual and relaxed. Will responds that he has a natural aptitude for studying, and Skylar asks him if he has a photographic memory because of his intelligence and his ability to master complex subjects like organic chemistry even though he studies for fun. They become affectionate with each other. Skylar expresses her desire for Will to accompany her to California on the same day. The discussion takes on a serious tone. Will ends up shouting angrily and revealing his traumatic past when he clearly demonstrates his fear of being abandoned. Skylar admitting that he lied about having siblings because he was abused as an orphan. She loves Will because of this, but he tells her that he doesn't feel the same way, which makes her sad. Will is later reminded by Tom how important it is to thank Gerald for everything he has done to help him. When Gerald inquires about the work meeting, Will responds by revealing that he had a date and sent Chucky in his place. Gerald is not pleased with this response. Will says that he doesn't want to spend the rest of his life explaining what he did. Gerald says that Will could show some gratitude, and Will says that exams are easy for him. Will burns the exams while Gerald struggles to solve them. Gerald acknowledges that he has more potential than him but is saddened that Will is throwing away everything. Will then attends a National Security Agency work meeting and humorously and in-depth explains why he does not want to work there. Will is Sean's question in the following scene. If he denies having a soulmate during the conversation, Will becomes defensive about low-paying jobs not being considered honorable. Sean tries to probe further by asking him what he really wants out of life, but Will refuses to do so. When the subject comes up once more, Sean asks him to leave because he can no longer bear his foolish attitude. Will calls Skylar to make sure that she is leaving. He doesn't respond when she says she loves him. He sits by himself on a bench shortly thereafter while Skylar boards her flight to California. Gerald is disappointed with Will for not going to his meeting with Sean. Will and Chucky, on the other hand, are working on a construction site. Chucky will realize that he has wasted all of his potential and is ungrateful for the intelligence that has been given to him. Sean and Gerald engage in a heated debate about Will, defending him by claiming that he is emotionally destroyed and has lived his entire life in fear of being abandoned. Gerald says he wants him to study mathematics, which makes Sean's annoyance even worse. Will enters as they yell and resent each other for their previous failures. Gerald walks out. They discuss their experiences with physical abuse, and Sean mentions submitting Will's file to the judge for evaluation. When he says that he broke up with Skylar, Sean realizes that nothing has changed for him. He was to blame. Will surrender and embraces Sean crying with the utmost intensity. Then, alone, he takes the bus and thinks about his life. In the final meeting, Sean and Will talk about his new job, which he got thanks to an opportunity Gerald gave him. Following the session, Will receives Sean's number, and the two of them embrace. Will's friends show him the car they built for him on his 21st birthday. And everyone is content to be together. Gerald makes an apology visit to Sean. He goes to Sean's house and leaves a note, overcoming his hatred Will. When Chucky and his friends go to Will's house, they find that he has left. Chucky, on the other hand, is pleased that Will has finally ventured out of his comfort zone. When Sean reads the message, he is pleased to learn that Will quit his job and pursued Skylar. Will drives to California to begin his journey towards self-affirmation with Skylar, to start over and face an uncertain future. Turn on notifications, please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.